Okay, one of the most beautiful women in the world just asked me to make fish and spaghetti. Let's do it. I'm going to start with filling our pot with hot water and some better than bouillon paste. I'm going to start with my fresh produce, and I'm just going to cut up some peppers, onions, mushrooms. I don't think I did fresh garlic today because I was being lazy, like always. But our water started to boil, so I threw my spaghetti in first, and then I got in on my mushrooms. I had to cut those up really, 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 really small because nobody in my house likes them, so they have to be snuck in. And then I'm gonna just slice some pepperoni in like little slivers. I didn't want it to be diced because I actually wanted to be able to see it in the sauce. In the pan, I put some extra virgin olive oil and started with my onions and peppers so I can get them sweated down. We did rotisserie chicken seasoning, sage, some salt-free onion and herb Mrs. Dash, salt-free vegetable seasoning, some accent or MSG, some basil, and some ground thyme, and some whole oregano. And then I just wanted to get those vegetables coated really nicely in the seasoning. We drained our spaghetti, added some olive oil, some minced garlic from the jar, and some fresh basil. I just tossed that in there to let it steam the basil and put it to the side with the lid open. Our vegetables started to cook down. Here's where I'm going to put the lid on the pan and let those steam a little bit. And then I added 2 pounds of ground beef and a pound of sweet Italian sausage that was ground, and just started to break that down, which is my least favorite part of making spaghetti, actually. And then I went back in with some of those seasonings just to add it to the meat. It's really not as salty as you think it's going to be because the only thing that had salt in it, again, was the rotisserie chicken seasoning. Everything else was just herbs or salt-free. But every probably few minutes, I just go in, break it down, and mix it up since it is a lot of food. And here's my pantry. I'm just putting my stuff away. I really just wanted to show off my seasoning collection, actually. Eventually, I think I'm going to get like a more organized system, but that just works. Here's my dog, tired of our shit. She's hot and waiting for us to drop food. And then I tried to convince her to go outside. She went out there, wasn't having it, and came back in. Our meat is starting to cook down really nicely, so we're going to stir again and keep breaking it down over and over and over again. I think I need to get one of those like meat mincers. But then I started to add in my pepperoni and mushrooms. Pepperoni's cured, so of course it's already cooked, and then the mushrooms don't take long, so I like to add stuff like that kind of at the end of like the high heat process. Just threw that together. I'm starting to get some really good color here. And then I added in some julienne sun-dried tomatoes, some zesty and thick spaghetti seasoning, spaghetti sauce seasoning, and a half a pack of the Italian dressing seasoning. And then I did about 2 cups of Merlot, and I'm going to let that mix in with the seasonings and get kind of like thick. And then I added a small can of tomato paste, and then a couple scoops of roasted red pepper spread. I just don't think it's spaghetti without roasted red peppers. Ever since I started using it, I just don't like it without it now. And then once you start to see the bottom of your pan and everything's like super thick, kind of like sloppy Joe, I guess, then I start to add in the big cans of diced tomatoes. That's with basil and Italian seasoning, I think. And then the other can is crushed tomatoes with basil. Sorry for the tapping. That's my dog walking around while I'm recording. And then I just added some oil from the sun-dried tomatoes, and then sliced up 2 big leaves of fresh basil. You don't really need much because it's very fragrant and strong, so you don't want it to overpower, but I find that I like to replace the sugar in spaghetti with basil since it's so sweet, but I will add just a little bit. I also added in some curly parsley, and you really can stop here and kind of just make it like a spaghetti from scratch, but since I have like quite a few people I'm going to give plates to, I will eventually add jars of spaghetti sauce. But right here I'm just simmering And I have this on very low heat, and I kept the lid on it too. But now I'm going to add 3 big jars of tomato sauce. I used a basil flavored, a meat flavor, and a traditional flavor. And that really stretched the sauce. I used a little bit of spaghetti just to try it. And I added some crushed red pepper. Here is the Louisiana fish fry. And I had some seasoned flour underneath that. I just added some zesty seafood rub, some olive oil, a half a pack of sesame, and some garlic and herb Mrs. Dash. Don't come for me. This is tilapia, and we go together real bad. It's not a frankenfish or man-made. It's just imported from a different country. I don't know why it has that weird myth attached, but you'll never shame me for eating tilapia. I added a little bit of milk just to spread the seasoning, and then I just put it in my fancy fish fry powder bag and threw it in the oil. This first one, I'm just testing it for salt, like always. And I think I added just a little bit of rotisserie chicken seasoning. There's a baguette I found on the discount rack at Walmart. We're just going to cut that open and add butter, oregano, garlic and herb seasoning, and a lot of olive oil and some accent. And I threw that in my air fryer at 400 for like 10 minutes on the baking setting, and then another 10 minutes on the frying setting. I have one of those like sideways air fryers. There's my fish. It looks beautiful. My dad does not like spaghetti, so I did rigatoni for him. That's his bowl that he can just pick out of throughout the couple of days that it's going to be in the fridge. That's my garlic bread. It came out beautiful. And now I'm plating for a beautiful woman. And I'm just going to put the spaghetti. I made a little side salad too. A meal isn't like a meal without vegetables. I grated some fresh parm on top, put her spaghetti on the side. She asked for my hottest hot sauce, and we threw some of that in there. I think that was like a habanero one. And there's her plate. And I'm very proud of this spaghetti. This is how I make spaghetti every single time. And you really need to just try these extra ingredients, and it'll really up the game. But thanks again for watching, and until next time, please enjoy your food.